Good morning. Happy Thursday. I have Neuro Coffee in hand and it is perfect.
Yeah, if no one else did, I'll
Go ahead.
fill the time.
Go ahead.
So trap bar versus like a squat. I guess what I'm thinking about is one of our female teams here. Like if you were to just like line them up and pick out like narrowest and tiniest of narrows, um, pretty much most of them have some back pain complaint, and their in-season program is pretty trap bar heavy.
Sweet.
I believe I have you on record, but I won't hold you to it, that you were saying you'd almost like never trap bar a narrow, with the fear of prolonging the middle propulsive phase too much.
Go ahead.
Pause or
Go ahead.
I was just trying to think about, like, because we can obviously squat narrows without necessarily, if done correctly, prolonging that middle propulsive phase too much. But I'm trying to think about, like, truly what is the difference. Like, obviously, I know with the trap bar, I'm starting from the floor from a dead stop, whereas with the squat, I'm like, I have some tension coming down before I come up. But I was like hoping you could just kind of hash that out for me, because I guess, like, if I were just look at it purely from like a joint angle standpoint, I could probably get someone to hit pretty similar positions if you just look like at each from the bottom up. But I'm trying to figure out like what's truly differentiating the squat and what can I manipulate to make that a more acceptable and a better exercise for these narrows.
Okay. Have you ever seen a rocket take off?
I have.
Okay. So it's at a dead stop, right? Massive explosion out the bottom of the rocket. What happens?
It slowly starts to speed up.
Nothing happens. It doesn't go anywhere until the force going out of the rocket overcomes the inertia, right? There's your difference between pulling something off the floor and starting a squat at the top and going down. So as I go down, okay, I am moving into a position of earlier propulsion, am I not?
You are.
And therefore I have connective tissue behavior that is storing energy that will allow me to turn and go in the other direction as I release that connective tissue behavior to produce the energy upward, right?
So if we were to do a pause squat variation, a narrow would almost do the same thing as a trap bar.
Love what you're thinking. Love what you're thinking, because so if I sit down on a box, right, I yield a lot. I'm going to dissipate some of that energy, right, depending on how long I'm on the box. So if I did like a 5 count stop on a box, it's going to be a lot like pulling weight off the floor, right?
Yeah.
So I'm giving up the energy storage in the connective tissues.
So to just like, if I wanted to say it like cleanly, simply, and attribute it to one thing, like the connective tissue behavior aspect is the big differentiator of why, like, what's going to allow the narrow to do that a little bit more effectively.
Think about energy going upwards. Okay. So how do you put tension, overcoming tension on connective tissues that were static prior to the pull? That means I have to go even harder to create the tension on the connective tissues to allow that to go, because I don't have the expanded representation and then the compressed representation. I have to literally produce that within the structure itself. It's like I have to actively contract a muscle to pull the connective tissues into an energy storing and then release it all at once. It's much more effortful to do so. And you can feel it. All you got to do is pull something off the floor and do a squat. And you go, oh, the squat was just much easier because you could store and release. It's this natural expansion compression, right? Now, if I have to increase the degree of effort to overcome the inertia, and I'm a narrow ISA, okay, in what direction am I squeezing and pushing pressure inward? Ian, Feel free to share.
Downward.
Downward. I have to put pressure down against it so I can put pressure up against it. So I'm squeezing. So if the pressure downward is great, I am sticking that person into the ground for a longer period of time than I would prefer. That's the problem. So maybe their trap bar deadlift numbers go up, but the duration that is required for them to apply the force to actually make the weight room numbers go up increases the duration of their application of force into the ground. I've just made somebody slower, right? Because I took them outside of where they apply internal rotation to the greatest degree in the shortest period of time. So it doesn't,
that makes a lot of sense.
It doesn't mean that you would never trap bar deadlift and narrow. It just means you better pay attention to what you're doing and then the desired outcome. If it's just chasing weight room numbers and you have no other performance measure to worry about, to your heart's content. But now think about some positioning, think about timing, right? You know, if you can modulate the load to where they can lift in a reasonable time frame, right? And you say, I'm keeping you on a time constraint, right? You ever do a top-down deadlift?
Yes.
Yeah. So you take them out of the rack, like you put the bar in the rack, you take them out of the rack, they start the deadlift from the top, they go down and they come back up. So it looks more like a squat type of behavior.
Yeah.
Right. But you
I
keep
was also thinking.
Go ahead.
Sorry, you go.
Well, you keep them on a time constraint. So you say you always have to lift within this time frame. Right. This would be where a gadget that might be helpful is like a gym aware kind of a thing, where it's giving you a velocity, but it's tracking the time. It's like, I always want you to lift within this window of time. We can increase the load as much as we can, as long as you don't exceed that time. Right. Let's just say,
how are you determining that time?
Performance.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
There's that. That's a time that's hashed out over months and months and months. So you can make a guess, but it's.
Well, okay. So if you have a vertical jump, okay, and if you can do it on a force plate or a jump mat or something like that, where you have like a ground contact time, like how long are they pushing into the ground?
Yeah.
Right. And you find the sweet spot where they get best performance with the shortest duration of time, and then that becomes your KPI.